up, guys? Chris from Cast. So I'm out here actually. I'm waiting now, but I've been in and out of my kayak so far. It's been a decent morning so far, but I'm going to share with you a few tips. There's going to be a few clips here that I'm going to put out next of, you know, just a few tips of wintertime fishing. Whenever the water temp right now is probably about 62 degrees. A very windy day today, so wintertime you got low tides, you got really low water temp, you got low air temp, you have very windy days. So this is a few tips right here that I'm going to share with you on ways to help you find fish during the winter. I'm just going to add in a few clips that I've taken so far today, and I hope you enjoy them. Oh my god, that is a huge snook. I think he's got him. Oh yeah, this is a nice one. Come on, get some ground on him. There we go, that's a nice trout right there. Holy cow, look at this thing. We're gonna measure him up. That trout sickle right there, man. That color, I just got a slam on that color today, guys. That doesn't say something. Oh, that's a tarpon. So we're crossing this flat right here, and I see Rick start casting, and asked him how deep he was, and he's in 6 feet of water right there. So between me and Rick, he's sitting in 6 feet of water. That's crazy. That's a really big drop off. That's why I came over to this area, because with these cooler waters, with these cooler temperatures and stuff like that, these fish are going to be in drop-offs but close to flats. They don't want to go, they're not swimming, you know, miles away. You know, they're only swimming to really close drop-offs. That way, once it starts to heat up a little bit, they can come back to this area, the shallow area, and feed. So they're not far from where they normally would be. I want to kind of show you exactly what I'm doing, actually how slow I'm actually working this right now. So I'm trying to land it about 5 feet off of where the water line is. So I'm trying to stay like 3 feet of that slack, and what I'm doing is I'm literally just popping it and I'm letting it sit on the bottom, and then I'm popping it off again, I'm letting it fall, and I'm just letting it sit on the bottom for a minute, and that's all I'm doing. I'm working it very slow, and then you'll feel it right there. You'll feel them just pick it up and take it. Oh, this guy whacked it hard. We might end up having to take him home. Let's see. Hang on a second, bud. What else is lying there? No, he didn't choke it. But that's all I'm doing is they're picking it off the ground. Let's see. Right there. So yeah, I didn't get in his throat. Thought it did, but yeah, that's another nice trout. And I'm working it very slow. There it is. All right, there we go. No blood, no nothing. He's good to go. Yeah, another nice one. That's probably 16, 17. Go ahead and there it goes. And you see, he went straight down. He didn't go out. He swam off straight down, because they're holding deep. But that's all I'm doing. So when you're wintertime fishing, you're fishing very slow. It's not normal where you just pop reel. I'm letting it sit on the bottom, and I'm giving it like a 1-2 count. When I feel it hit the bottom, I'm giving it like a 1-2 count, because these fish are 1 deep, and 2, they do not want to move a lot. They're not trying to use a lot of energy to feed. So another thing what I'm doing is I'm keeping an eye on like just items along the bank right here. And if you're able to do that, so like this bucket right here in the water or whatever that is, you know, I've been fishing this for a little bit. Like I've been keeping a track of where I've been, and I'm trying to get right back to that area, because normally when you find one fish, you'll find a couple. So I'll try to get right back in that area. And I've been fishing pretty much in between this like light thing and this bucket or whatever it is in the water. I've been kind of fishing this area, and I've caught a couple fish out of it. So I'm trying to stay in that same area until they pretty much stop biting, and then I'll end up moving. So it's like the second or third cast now. I haven't really had a bite, so I'm gonna move now. But I caught a couple fish just out of that one area, so now I'll just scoot over just a little bit. I won't scoot over a lot, but I'll scoot over a little bit. So I'll go a little bit further down now, and the same thing, I'll let it hit the bottom, set it for a second, pop it up, let it fall back to the bottom, pop up, and I'm not even popping it hard. I'm like almost dragging it like inches off the bottom. Oh, that might be a snook. He jumped out the water. Oh, that's a trout. I mean, we're just, I mean, that's the thing about wintertime fishing. When you find the fish, you find them. I mean, we're gonna, that's another nice one. Yeah, that's another nice one. I mean, Rick's over there. He's been in that one spot, just tearing them up. All right, hang on, buddy. Hang on, buddy. All right. Let me get my pliers for this guy. And when you're out here fishing during these winter months, sometimes it's hard to find any fish at all. You know, last time I was out there, I went to Elgin. It was hard. I only found like 4 trout all day, 3 or 4 trout, and then a snook. And I'm here now, and I've been out here for maybe an hour and a half, and me and Rick have both probably caught our limit on trout. There's another one. That's the thing, once you find them, you find them. And it's nice getting out here and you're just catching fish. I know it's nice to find the big snook and the big reds, but honestly, this is what it is for me, out here just catching fish. Really, their internal temperature like we do. And our internal temperature is 98 degrees, you know, never changes unless there's something really wrong with you. And we are able to go inside and get warm if we want to get warm. If we get too hot, we're able to go somewhere cool and get cool, you know. So fish, they're cold-blooded, so they can't regulate their internal temperature like we can, and they can't just go inside or put a jacket on when they get cold. So they actually start to slow down. They'll go off into really deep pockets and they'll sit still. They barely move. And that's just something you got to factor in. So these fish right now, they're deep. We figure we're catching them in about 6 feet of water right now, and I'm standing in, you know, 6 inches to a foot of water. So these are the spots that you want to start fishing during winter time. I've never fished this area ever. This is my first time ever being over here, and we're having a great day just because, you know, I did my little bit of research. I knew where the wind was coming from. I knew, you know, I looked up on the maps and seen the depth, you know, and that's one thing that Salt Strong actually added to their website since I've been there, is they've got these 1 foot contour lines. So that actually really helped me on picking this spot, because I was able to see the actual depth, and that's why I picked this spot. So it's another tip of wintertime fishing. I do this all year anyways, but you want to go down on your leader size. So I run 20 pound all year round. I run 20 pound, and then just at the end of like in the summer months, fall months, even right now, because I just caught that snook, I like to run a little bit of 30 pound at the end, and that protects me from any tarpon or snook that want to bite my hook. So this 30-pound protects me, but this 20-pound is for when I'm really finesse fishing. Now once I get a little bit deeper into the winter months where I'm not too worried about the snook anymore, which is probably within the next couple weeks, then I'll run straight 20. And one thing about wintertime is you want to go really long leaders. So like this is even short right now. Usually during wintertime I'll have probably about a 4 to 5 foot leader of just 20-pound. And I do use fluorocarbon also because I know there's, you know, that huge, I mean, every angler, there's that controversy about mono versus fluoro. So the big difference and the main reason I use fluoro over mono is fluoro sinks faster. If you put fluoro and mono next to each other, you put them in the water, the fluoro is actually going to sink faster. So I like the fluoro because it does sink faster. So it does help me whenever sight casting fish. I don't have the line laying on top of the water. That line on top of the water will actually spook a fish. It'll lay down into the water column and it'll actually, it'll sink down and it'll make it less likely to spook a fish. But that's why I do like the fluorocarbon. I mean, they do say that fluorocarbon and mono, I mean, if you're looking in a glass of water, of course you're gonna be able to see them both side by side. I do know that the fluorocarbon does last longer when it's on your pole. So with it being in the elements stuff, the fluorocarbon actually lasts longer in the elements than the mono will. But I use fluorocarbon, you can use mono, they both catch fish. The difference between the two is not much at all, but fluorocarbon does sink faster than the mono. That's my main reason for using the fluorocarbon, is because it does, you know, it does sink faster. And then also, you know, whenever you leave mono on your poles, like I rarely have to retie my main line. I'm mostly tying down here, so I can leave this on here longer than I would be able to mono. And if you think about it, you know, the mono's cheaper, but how much more are you gonna have to retie your mono versus your fluoro? So it might even out in the long run. But like I said, I run fluoro, it sinks faster. I run really long leaders during winter time, and I go down to 20, sometimes even 15. Depends on how clear the water is. This is very clear water, so I run 20 all year long. Alright, so this is just another quick tip, and this is for all seasons, but I'm gonna put it out there mainly for wintertime fishing, is how you fish, knowing where your shadow is. So right now, the only way for me really to come in this way was to come up through here. I could have came around the backside, but I chose to come up this way because that's all land over there. But knowing where your shadow is, so with this clear water, so you figure my shadow cast out to over there, so anything in that area I'm going to spook sometimes before I even see it. And now you gotta imagine your rod. So my rod, I don't know if you can see how far my rod is actually sticking out about 5 feet further than my head right here in the shadow. And then whenever you cast your line is also going to make a little shadow. So knowing where your shadows cast off will actually determine how well you do on a flat also. You know, I'm casting out right here, I'm working this, so the shadow's I'm not really affected by the shadow because I'm casting out here. But if I was to see a redfish, let's just say tail red up here somewhere, I would have to actually step back a little bit to make that cast, because if not, when I swing my rod out like this, the shadow might cast off and scare him. So that's just another tip. It's very important during wintertime, just because the water is so clear during wintertime. You're gonna find your clearest water during wintertime. There's not a lot of rain, there's not a lot of runoff, so the clearest water you're ever gonna fish is going to be during wintertime. You know, having different options if you're able to. So I've got this 1/4 ounce jig head. That's for fishing these really deep holes. All right, I have a 3-inch paddle tail. Like it says, you size down. So size down, that's a 3-inch bait. It's a 4-inch bait, but it's a real slim look, so I don't have to worry about it too much. But this paddle tail's on a 3/16 ounce weight. I can work that deep or shallow. And also, you're sizing down, this is, I want to say about a 2.5 inch bait. This is the Z-Man TRD, and I've got that on an 1/8 ounce. So that is a very, very subtle presentation. So if I see a redfish cast, if I see a redfish tail over here, I'm not throwing this 1/4 ounce, I'm not throwing that 3/16 ounce paddle tail. They put off a lot of action. I'm gonna throw that TRD. because that TRD is going to land very light and it's very minimal action, and that's what they're going to be hitting. You can still get them on paddle tails, you still get them on paddle tails, you can still get them on jerk shads, but having it rigged on something like that would be a lot better. So like in this area, if I was throwing that paddle tail at tailing reds, I would throw it on an 1/8 ounce, probably weighted hook, not that Texas eye. I'd throw it on a weighted hook, has a lighter fall. It hits the water, it makes less of a splash. I've got that paddle tail tied on so I can fish it deep and shallow right now, but that TRD is mainly for sight fishing. I'm not gonna blind cast that at all, really. I might here or there if I'm in a pocket and I think it looks like there might be something in it, then I'll throw it, but for the most part that's mainly like a sight casting bait. But you want to keep options, you want to size down. You know, I'm not going to throw a 5-inch jerk shad anymore. This 4-inch jerk shad I throw all year. I mean, this works all year. But I also have some 2.5-inch ones that are going to work great. I also have some 2-inch shrimps that I have for this winter time. I also have these slim swims, which are like a very small paddle tail that are 2.5 inches, and I've got, you know, Ned rig hooks and stuff for that. So this time of year, you're sizing down, you're slowing down, you're gonna throw heavier stuff and deeper holes, and then once that sun comes out, you guys see, you know, when I first got out here, there was no water coming over that flat. Tide's coming up, so once the tide starts to come up more, these fish are, and once the tide starts to come up more and this water starts to cover these flats, the sun's coming out, it's gonna really warm up this water. So this water up here is actually gonna end up being warmer than the water that's deep down there, and they're gonna eventually move up. So first thing in the morning, you're gonna fish real deep, fish these potholes, these deep holes, and as the day goes on, once that sun comes up, once the tide comes back up and the sun heats up these flats, you're going to start to find them feeding on these flats, and that's where you'll find a lot of tailing reds. So that's why I said first thing this morning, that's why we're fishing these deep channels, because that's where the fish are right now. But slowly the fish are going to start to move up. So another tip also for wintertime fishing is your rod. So knowing where your rod placement when you're retrieving a bait. So if you're fishing super shallow, say I cast somewhere really shallow, I'm going to keep my rod tip up. That's going to keep the bait toward the top of the water, and it's going to keep it off the bottom. Now if I want to put it on the bottom and bounce it, then I'll put my rod tip down, let it fall, and I'll just kind of like bounce it up and drag it across the bottom. Put my rod tip down, bounce it up, drag it across the bottom. But if I'm just trying to slow roll it, I'll sit here, rod tip up. That keeps the bait up and off the bottom and higher in the water column. Now if I'm fishing in deep hole, there's two ways pretty much also. I'm going to cast it out, I'm going to let it sink. Now if I want to keep it, if I want to pop it off the bottom, I'll just literally rod tip up and I'll just drag it up and let it fall back down. I'll drag it up and I'll let it fall back down. And then also another way I'll do it is I'll keep it low and I'll just bounce it on the bottom like that, let it fall. Bounce it on the bottom, that will keep it even deeper. But that's just a couple of little tips about rod placement when you're retrieving your lure. If you want to keep it higher in the water column, keep your rod tip up. You want to put it lower, put your rod tip down. I do that mainly with my spoon or my paddle tails. That's most of the time whenever that applies to me the most, just because when I'm swimming it nice and slow, sometimes I want it up and then sometimes I want to run it deep. So and it's more of a preference thing from me, but also kind of proven, is don't be afraid to get in the water during winter time. I know a lot of people don't like to get wet, you know, but get a nice pair of waders, get some wading boots. Don't be afraid to get in the water, because during winter time a lot of boats aren't going to be able to reach the places that you need to get to catch fish. You know, you'll be able to post up and catch trout and stuff like that in deep holes, but eventually to find the redfish and stuff like that, you're gonna want to get to some really skinny areas. And I know a lot of people don't like to fish during the winter, but I mean, getting in the water will definitely up your odds quite a bit during winter time. You're able to fish slower, you're able to hit more spots, you're quiet, you're way more quiet. I mean, just getting in the water, you know, get some boots, some waders if you don't want to get wet. Right now the temperature of the water is probably 60 something degrees. You know, it doesn't bother me too much, the cold, but you know, you'll definitely up your odds. There we go. And catching fish. I think I found my redfish. Another tip for you guys on wintertime fishing is knowing when to switch your baits. So knowing when to switch from a 1/4 ounce to an 1/8 ounce, from a paddle tail to a spoon, from a jerk shad to a spoon or a paddle tail, or even a shrimp profile. I came out here today and I knew by the color of the water, what type of bottom it was, stuff like that, when to switch from the jerk shad or the paddle tail and switch to a spoon. And it's been very successful. Hooked 3 redfish, landed 2 redfish, caught a couple jack. So knowing when to switch the profile of your bait, not necessarily the color. The color doesn't have too much to do with it. I mean, it does sometimes. Some instances the color will matter, but it's rare that it's just the color the reason you're not catching the fish. 9 times out of 10 it's going to be the profile or the area you're in. But just pretty much another tip is an all-around: know when to switch your baits to a different profile, know when to make a move. Wintertime fishing, normally when you find some fish, you're gonna find a lot of fish. So if you're not getting any fish, then make a move. I like to throw search baits a lot till I find the fish. Then when I find the fish, I'll go and work something a little bit more slower. So that's just the last tip of the day: knowing when to switch your bait, knowing when to make a move. Pretty much that's it. As long as you sit down and make a good game plan the night before, know where you're going, which direction the wind's coming from, if it's going to shift throughout the day, knowing how shallow or deep the area you're going is, knowing the tides. As long as you sit down, make a good game plan, and know when to switch your lures, know when to size up, size down, go deep, go shallow, all of that really takes into effect. I'm fishing a spot I've never fished before, and I've had an excellent day out here. So that's just the last tip. I'm actually about to end the day anyways. It's getting super windy, and I'm about to start making my way back to the launch. But all right guys, so I really hope you guys enjoyed those tips. I hope they help you guys out this year for some wintertime fishing. Hope it helps you find some fish and you guys can get out there and get some tight lines. I'm going to continue to fish for the rest of the day. I hope you guys enjoy the video that I'm actually making now. I'm putting out actually a full-length video right now, so I just decided to throw in a few tips and do a little wintertime tip video while I was out here. But I'll go ahead and get out of here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification down at the bottom so you're notified when I post a new video. Remember guys, there's always time for one more cast. I'll see you later.